Hi, everyone. To echo what the Premier said not too long ago, we had a successful summit with big city mayors and regional chairs. While our housing policies are making progress to increase the supply of housing, Ontario needs more housing built faster to reduce the pent-up demand for homes that is driving up prices. We know that the approvals process are often stalled by cumbersome and cause unnecessary red tape to each level of government. These obstacles to building more homes faster were repeated in our conversations today. At our summit, the Premier and I had an informative conversation with big city mayors and regional chairs about the next steps that we can take together to increase housing supply by streamlining and modernizing planning and approvals process, by facilitating the right mix of homes in the right places, and encouraging innovation and data sharing. So let's be clear. The housing crisis in Ontario will not be solved overnight or in one meeting. There is no silver bullet. Addressing Ontario's housing supply crisis is a long-term strategy that requires long-term commitment, collaboration, and coordination. Today's summit was a crucial next step to identify what additional measures we can take together to increase the supply of housing, to make it easier for all hardworking Ontarians to find a home that meets their needs and their budget. Because the key to building more homes is building more homes faster. As we continue this important dialogue, our government will ensure our municipal partners have the tools and resources they need to unlock and fast-track housing in every community across Ontario. So today, Premier Ford and I announced that we are creating the Streamlined Development Approvals Fund, enabled by an investment of over $45 million to support Ontario's 39 largest municipalities modernize, streamline, and accelerate their processes for managing and approving housing applications. We're also providing over $8 million through the Audit and Accountability Fund to help large urban municipalities identify potential savings and efficiencies through third-party reviews to further accelerate the creation of new housing. We also committed to working with the municipal sector on developing a data standard for planning and development applications as yet another measure to find efficiencies in planning and approval timelines, so we can get shovels in the ground at a pace that Ontarians need and deserve. We know the shortage of housing supply and affordability challenges are not just in large urban municipalities. The housing supply crisis hurts communities in every corner of our province. And that's why Premier Ford and I will host a similar meeting with rural, remote, and northern municipalities on January 23rd, focused on increasing housing supply in these communities. This roundtable leads right into the 2022 virtual Roma conference, so I'd like to say a big thank you to Roma for supporting this important roundtable. This kind of collaboration with our municipal partners is key to making it easier for Ontarians and their families to find a home that meets their needs and their budget. Our government will continue to put Ontarians first and continue to build a better, brighter future for our beautiful province. So thank you. Now I'll take a few questions.
Thank you, Minister Clark. We'll now open up the media Q&A. As a reminder, one question, one follow-up. First question, please.
Please press star 1 if you have a question. And first you will hear from Andréane Baribeau at TFO.
Hi. Yes, so my question is regarding zoning. When we look at Toronto, most of the city is zoned residential detached, meaning we can only have houses. But many urban planners, developers, and architects are pushing for more medium densification, so allowing things like multi-unit low-rises, triplex, things that we call the missing middle. And there's other cities like Edmonton that have gotten rid of the residential detached zoning altogether. So could this be a solution for Toronto?
Well, I'm quite familiar with Edmonton. My son and my daughter-in-law and my two grandkids live there. He's a police officer, so I'm well aware of the Edmonton zoning requirements. There's been a lot of great suggestions, including today, from our municipal partners and from housing experts about what we can do. And there's been a lot of suggestions that have been given to the Housing Affordability Task Force. So all of those suggestions are under active consideration by the province. We need to put a plan in place, and we need to take those great ideas and put them into action.
Follow-up?
In regards to zoning specifically, could, for example, the province encourage or maybe even force Toronto to an MZO to change its zoning to get rid of this residential detached zoning, which seems to really limit densification?
Yeah, and there's been similar conversations around transit stations as well, that there should be, a minimum densification at the time. So there have been those suggestions that have been made, both today and at other meetings at the Housing Task Force. We're going to be moving into the Rural Ontario Municipal Conference on Sunday with that roundtable. I'm sure I'll hear from some municipalities suggesting that, and all of these conversations are going to help inform us on our next steps. But again, there are a number of great suggestions out there that we'll have to consider as a province.
Next question.
From Lindsay Alick at CTV News, Sudbury.
Hi there. Thank you so much for taking my question. Mayor Brian Bigger here in the greater city of Sudbury sent a letter to the Premier in November about the need for immediate supportive housing. And I'm just wondering if this was something that was discussed today, and if you have a response about this.
Yeah, no, and thanks for the question. So today we concentrated on market housing. However, I'm in constant conversation with my federal counterpart, Minister Hussein. We actually have a federal, provincial, territorial bilateral tomorrow. So, and I'm hoping that I'll hear more details from Minister Hussein about some of the campaign commitments that the federal government made in terms of missing middle and supportive housing. I do want to say, though, that I have made comments today about the fact that we are being shortchanged by the federal government based on our core housing need. Mayor Bigger would know that we've called on the federal government for an additional $490 million based on our housing need, which would help our municipal partners be able to bolster their community housing and also add to it. So it's under active consideration, and we'll have more to say tomorrow after the federal, provincial, territorial meeting.
Follow-up?
Wonderful, thank you. And obviously, you mentioned that there's going to be a rural meeting on Sunday. But what were some of the things that were discussed today that are different in the north versus, Toronto when it comes to housing?
Well, I think there's some common thinking. Obviously, we believe, and the municipal leaders we talked to today, and again, we'll hear it Sunday, starting at Roma and throughout that conference. I think we all can look at our own internal processes when it comes to creating more housing supply, and we all need a better job. Obviously, the Premier, who attended the entire morning session, is a big proponent of lean methodology. And my ministry has been meeting with the lean team here since November to look at the whole development approval process at the municipal level. We have to look at our processes as well as a provincial government, the agencies, the ministries, things like conservation authorities, which come up from time to time. We all have to look at our process to ensure that we're all doing what we can to shorten those time frames and get shovels in the ground.
Next question.
From Kate Porter at CBC Ottawa.
Hi, thank you, Minister Clark. I'm sure you're aware Ottawa City Council recently approved a new official plan, and it came after years of fierce debate, especially over the urban boundary and just how much to let the suburbs expand. And I know it's with you for ministerial approval now. So, given your government's goals to build more housing quickly, do you intend to make ministerial changes to Ottawa's official plan, and if so, what kinds?
Well, we're still involved in the review process of Ottawa's official plan. We actually got a lot of official plans across the province in for the ministry to comment, and we're going to do our due diligence with each and every plan. My message today to Mayor Watson and other mayors is, we need to have this renewed sense of collaboration that there are levers at the provincial level, but there's also levers at the municipal level that we need to look at to try to deal with the housing crisis that we have. You know, I live in Eastern Ontario, I live in Brockville, I'm in Ottawa quite regularly, and I understand the frustration that that some individuals have, that they just can't find a place that they can afford to call home. And I think the one thing I want to impress upon everyone on this call is we really had a good sense of collaboration and cooperation with the big city mayors and the regional chairs, and I'm encouraged by this meeting, and I know the Premier is as well. But we're gonna take the time that's afforded to us as a ministry, and we're gonna look at not just Ottawa's official plan, but all of them that are in with us for comment.
Follow up?
Yes, thanks. Another thing that's come up here in Ottawa, I mean, it's been shown that the taxes the city gets don't offset the costs of, you know, taking roads and transit and pipes to new developments. So I was wondering, as you speak about, you know, a mix of housing, do you support building houses that people want, if that's, you know, with yards and bedrooms and the like, even if there are some significant, you know, long-term infrastructure costs or climate costs?
Well, we put a plan in place under the Housing Supply Action Plan, More Homes, More Choice, to simplify the process around development charges and the community benefits charge. And one of the things that I talked about early today in the summit was encouraging municipalities to take advantage of the tools that we've given them, but also tell us why some of the tools work for you and why some don't. And then if we need any new tools that are available to help spur on housing supply. The fact is, Kate, we need housing of all types. We need missing middle. We need that purpose-built rental. Yes, we need single family as well, but we also need that mixture of homes that really reflects local communities. And we had a really good discussion with municipalities today at this meeting, and I'm expecting the same high level of engagement on Sunday with some of these suggestions. But make no mistake, we need housing of every size and shape and form across this province.
Next question.
From Jeff Gray at the Globe and Mail.
Oh, hi, thanks. Hi, Minister. I wanted to get back at that first question there about this idea that's been talked about quite a bit recently, which is getting rid of, to some degree, zoning that limits building to single-family homes in places like Toronto or elsewhere. Did that topic come up as something that the government could do, the provincial government could do in discussions today? And can you confirm that that is something you are actively considering?
Well, I think I've told you this before, Jeff. You know, we're in the middle of a consultation period. We've got about 2,000 submissions to our document. We've got a housing affordability task force that is meeting and will be giving me the results soon. We're in active conversation with municipalities both today and Sunday and beyond. We'll be having, I'm sure, a record number of delegations on the housing file throughout the Roma conference, just like we did at AMO in August. So yes, you know, ideas like what you're saying are being discussed. They are being suggested. You know, they were suggested this morning by some. I wouldn't say that was the number one issue that that mayors talked about today, but it always comes up in meetings, and it'll be something that we'll ask the task force and I'll ask the ministry to look at very closely when we finish the consultation period and then move into implementation.
Follow up?
Another problem that's come up is this issue where advocates and experts and municipal people say that there's a lot of land, thousands of hectares of land where housing has already been approved, but it's not being built. I mean, leaving aside the discussion over the growth plan and decades hence designating more land. Has there been any discussion of looking into why that's happening or trying to create new incentives to get that housing built more quickly?
Yeah, it's again, Jeff, it's just like the previous question. It's come up a lot. You know, Jake Lawrence, the head of the Housing Affordability Task Force, has talked to me about some of the submissions they've received. You know, it comes up in mayor's meetings like the one today. It'll come up, you know, I'm sure, in a number of those 2,000 submissions. You know, again, there are a number of units that have been pre-approved. They're already done, they're already zoned correctly, they already have the right permits, and now we have to look at the measures on why they're not being built. And one of the measures that gets discussed at meetings like today is labor. And I know if you talk to the Premier, he's probably had a conversation dozens of times with Prime Minister Trudeau about immigration and ensuring we have enough skilled workers. From a housing perspective, we need labor, and this was a potential barrier that was identified today and comes up quite a lot. So it is something that collectively the three levels of government are going to have to get their head around.
Next question.
From Alison Jones at the Canadian Press.
Hi, Minister. I'm hoping you could just talk a little bit about timeline. You talked about some policies that are under consideration. There's consultations ongoing. The task force is doing their work, but there's going to be an election in just a few short months. What are you hoping to accomplish before the end of this mandate?
Well, from my perspective, Alison, I appreciate the amount of legislative time that I've been given as a minister. I think I've got the most bills passed of any minister in our 3.5 years. I'm obviously, if I'm able to, I'm hoping I could maybe get another one, but that's going to be up to the approvals process, the consultation process. And again, as you know, because of your experience, there's a very finite window of legislative time for us to deal with. We've got a budget that Minister Bethlenfalvy will be delivering. So, there's a lot of things in motion here. I'm going to do my utmost to get some policies put forward so that we can put a plan in place and deal with this crisis. This is as I said in my opening remarks, this is a challenge that takes long-term sustainable solution. It takes collaboration and cooperation by all three levels of government. I'm hoping to do my part and work with the other levels of government so that they can do their part. So I'm going to use every minute I can from now until this session of Parliament to get a plan forward.
Follow up?
Yeah, I'm just hoping you could talk a little bit about where you see supports versus supply. We've heard you talk a lot about addressing supply issues. Are you at all considering supports for, say, first-time home buyers, helping people to get into the market, or are you focusing largely just on creating more supply?
Well, I think we have to look at the continuum, right? So there are a number of suggestions, about those other opportunities, like for first-time home buyers. So again, those suggestions are being made at housing affordability meetings, at meetings like we've had today. There are a number of great suggestions out there, and we're going to have to package them up and decide which ones we're going to move forward on quickly. On the community housing side, again, I hope to get more clarity on some of those assistance programs for municipalities tomorrow at the federal, provincial, territorial meeting. But suffice it to say, I'm going to use, as I said at the previous question, I'm going to use every minute of my time to look at every option and to get a plan in place.
Next question.
From Melissa Candelaria at the Halton News.
Hello, Minister. I just was speaking with one of our mayors here in Halton, and obviously it's been brought up today a couple of times already about the, getting shovels in the ground and the time it takes. And one of the things that apparently was brought up in this meeting was the reformation or even abolishing the Ontario Land Tribunal, as it does add a bit of delay in getting these projects underway. So I just wanted to get your sense of what your thoughts are on that, considering that, Halton is a very fast-growing region. It has one of the most growing municipalities in Canada, that is Milton. So I wanted to get a sense of where you're at with that.
Yeah, and as somebody who is an ex-CAO and an ex-mayor, I've always been supportive of having that independent tribunal available for adjudication of disputes. Can the tribunal work a little faster? I think we've heard from a number of stakeholders that, Minister Downey should take a look at resources, and I fully support the work that he's done since we've been a government to try to reduce that backlog. You have to remember when I became minister in the summer of 2018, there was a massive legacy backlog, and I have to give Minister Downey credit. He's done a really good job. We still receive concerns from all sectors about the time it takes for the Land Tribunal to make a decision, and I'll be having more conversations with Minister Downey about that feedback that we've received from municipalities.
Follow-up?
And my next question goes largely to affordability. Inclusionary zoning, Burlington is looking to get into that phase. I know Toronto has passed that as well. So I wanted to get a sense from you if there is any support that the provincial government will do in, maybe reducing some red tape or supporting the idea of an inclusionary zoning bylaw to have more affordable housing for people of all income levels.
Yeah, and when we took over, the previous government had an inclusionary zoning policy on the books that was largely ignored by municipalities. As part of our review, when we first became government, I decided that I wanted to have the IZ tool as a possibility around transit stations, and I still believe that that can provide the intensification and density that I think we need in the province. There are a number of municipalities that will continue to encourage the province to look at expanding inclusionary zoning in other areas. And again, that's a suggestion that has been made that we'll take a look at.
Next question.
From Alan Hale at Queen's Park Today.
Hi there. Earlier this morning, the Ontario Real Estate Association told the Finance Committee that they want to see, as of right zoning brought into Ontario municipalities. Is that something that was talked about seriously during this meeting?
Well, I got the question earlier too, and it is a suggestion that has come from a variety of places since we started the Housing Affordability Task Force, and with the meeting today, and I'm assuming the Roma meetings we'll have on Sunday and next week, we'll hear more of that. Obviously, the stakeholder AREA, made that presentation this morning. Obviously, I was a bit busy, so I'm not privy to what they said to committee today. But suffice it to say, it's a suggestion that's being actively made by stakeholders, and it's part of the basket of measures that the government is looking at and reviewing.
Follow-up?
A lot of what's being talked about seems like it's talk about creating inventory for people who want to buy houses. Was there a lot of discussion today about increasing the stock of rental housing? Absolutely.
I've said many times, we need more housing of all types. We need more purpose-built rentals. And regardless of the success the government has had, the policies we've put in as a government have resulted in the highest construction of purpose-built rentals since the early 90s. The one stat I showed said 1992. The one that came out this morning from CMHC, I think, goes back now to 1991. But regardless of the success, regardless of the fact that we've seen a significant amount of purpose-built rental, we need more. We need more purpose-built rental. We need more missing middle. We need more family-sized condos. We need more single-family. We need more housing of all types. You look at the Scotiabank report that shows that, on a per capita basis, we're lagging the G7. We need 1.2 million units in this province, and that's units of all types. So yes, purpose-built rental is a very important component, and yes, we certainly need to build upon the success we've had as a government to get more purpose-built rental built.
Next question.
From Krista Sharp at CTV News.
Hi, Minister. I appreciate that funding announcements today address the long-term plan, but as you're calling this a crisis, I'm wondering what the short-term plan is. even if more new homes are built, prices will likely stay around the mark they are now, if not go higher. That's just the nature of a capitalist market. Experts agree prices are likely not going to drop anytime soon. So will your government commit to changing or at least reviewing real estate policies in the meantime to ensure that homes won't nearly double in price again? Because right now we know that homes are selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars over asking.
Yeah, well, that was something that the federal government promised, and I'm not sure whether I'll hear more about that tomorrow at the summit. We're focusing on that long-term strategy. As I've said in my opening remarks, it's going to take all levels of government to work together. Obviously, the streamlining development approvals process is one part of it. To create that fund, I think, is significant and allows municipalities who haven't used the lean methodology to consider it, that coupled with the audit and accountability fund. So I do think both of those funds that we announced today are beneficial. I think they will make a difference over the long term. And then there are a number of other measures that we're considering now, both at the task force and at our municipal meeting today and on Sunday, that I think will help. But there's a lot of levers here. You know, I mentioned one was labor earlier that I think we need some help from the federal government on. I also, you know, the supply chain is something that I think was of concern to a number of mayors. So there's a lot of things in this space. And the best way for us to solve it is when all three levels of government work together. So I look forward to hearing what Minister Sen has about that real estate piece tomorrow.
Follow-up?
I appreciate that. But on the side of, say, real estate policies, is there any sort of concrete action besides funding that your government is going to look into or potentially look into?
Well, as I've said earlier, you know, we're going to take all the suggestions that we've been given, both at the task force, and as you know, I want to remind everyone that I haven't got the results of the task force. I'm getting a report from them very, very soon. I'm going to continue to look at the 2,000 consultation documents that I've received to date in the ministry, and then I'm going to continue to work with municipalities. So I'm not there yet to be able to tell you exactly what's in our next action plan, but we're looking at all the suggestions that we've been given.
Next question, the last question.
Liz Montero at Waterloo Region Record.
Hello, Minister. In Waterloo Region, we're seeing intensification in density when it comes to condo towers, purpose-built rentals, and in Kitchener specifically, tiny homes. But I wanted to address the issue of single-family homes. And last week, we hit a problematic milestone when a semi-detached sold for $1 million. And so I guess the concern is for families who want single-family homes and how the government can help them achieve that.
Yeah, and again, I think there's a number of good suggestions that came out today. Obviously, the mayors and the regional chair participated in our meeting today, as well as the mayor of Cambridge, so both Kitchener and Waterloo and Cambridge. So there's always good suggestions, and I think that we all need to look at our own jurisdictions, not just looking at the development approval process, but some of the good suggestions was even looking at available land that all of us own. Like, I think we need to use every lever possible. And as I've said before, yes, we need single-family homes, Liz, but we also need more purpose-built rentals. We need communities that maybe haven't intensified to the degree that, you know, Mayor Jaworski talked about in Waterloo. We need to look in other communities. So I think we all need to look at every opportunity that presents itself, and that will result in our long-term sustainable plan that will get shovels in the ground, that will get those houses built of all different types and sizes.
Follow-up?
Thank you. Yeah, when it comes to inclusionary zoning, some local developers, when they've been building towers, most recent ones, they have, instead of putting in affordable housing units, they donate, you know, $250,000 to another developer who focuses solely on affordable housing. Is that a way that you want to see other developers go, at least to address that issue of affordable housing?
Well, I think we need to do both, right? I think we need to have developments around transit that provide that affordable housing opportunity. I think, you know, the one issue that comes out when we consult, and it doesn't matter what, doesn't matter whether it's a growth plan or the PPS or, you know, any affordable housing document, people want to live near transit, and they also want it intensified around transit. So while that option to partner with a not-for-profit to provide affordable housing somewhere else in the community, it's, you know, a net gain of affordable housing is a day we should celebrate. However, I happen to subscribe to the thought that around transit we should have that affordable housing option. That's why I you know, included it in our planning policies, because I want to encourage affordable housing developments around transit.
Thank you very much, everyone. That concludes the media Q&A.
Thanks, everybody.